Hi class, welcome to your first official online math lesson. We're going to work today on elapsed time, which is basically the passage of time. Yesterday you watched a Brain Pop video that talked about a couple of different strategies that you can use to calculate elapsed time. I'm going to focus today on using the timeline method. I like this method the best because it kind of relates to other things that we've done in our classroom before. We've used number lines to do things like round numbers. We've put fractions on number lines. We've even looked at number lines on how they're kind of like a ruler when we were measuring with rulers last week during Cardinal Pride time. So we're going to go ahead and use the number line now to calculate elapsed time. So let's say Joe was at the park at 3 o'clock. And he stayed at the park for 20 minutes. On our number line below, we're going to go ahead and put our start time of 3 o'clock. Now we know we could travel on the number line by making hops along the number line until we get to however far we need to travel, in this case 20 minutes. However, just like on a clock, we know we don't typically count all the minutes. We would instead look at our clock and start counting by fives. So I'm going to do the same thing on my number line. I'm going to start at 3 o'clock, and I'm going to go ahead and move 20 minutes, counting 5 minutes at a time. So I'm going to count 5, 10, 15, and 20. So you can see I moved a total of 20 minutes, and each point on the number line represents a time on the clock. So this point right here, that first black point would be 3 o'clock. When we jumped ahead 5 minutes, now we landed at 3:05. Then we hopped ahead another 10 minutes, and we landed here. And I'm sorry, I think I said the wrong number there. We hopped 5 minutes, another 5 minutes for a total of 10 minutes. Then we hopped 5 more minutes for a total of 15 minutes. And finally, we jumped 5 more minutes for a total of 20 minutes. And again, you can see each of those points on the number line represent a time. So this first point would be 3 o'clock. This time would be 3:05. This time would be 3:10. This time would be 3:15. And this time here would be 3:20. So you can see our ending time would be 3:20. So the answer to that question, if Joe went to the park at 3 o'clock and stayed for 20 minutes, what time would he leave the park? Well, he would leave at 3:20. Now, a lot of you probably could do that math work in your head. However, as we get into tougher problems, you'll want a strategy to be able to use for ones that you're not quite sure how to do in your head. So we're going to do one together now. If you don't already have paper and pencil, pause the video and grab yourself some paper and pencil, and we'll try a problem together. Okay, for this problem, we're going to say our start time this time is 4:30. And we're going to say that this time, let's say it's Sally, and she stayed at the park for 22 minutes. All right, so I'm going to solve this problem on the board or on the computer or whatever device it is that you're watching. And I'd like you to try it along with me. And just like in the classroom, I'm going to kind of work slowly. If you want to just watch, you can just watch. If you want to work ahead and then check your work with what I did, you can do that as well. Even if you think you can do this in your head, I recommend that you try this problem on paper and pencil so that you do practice a strategy, because we're going to get into some tougher problems in just a couple of minutes. So I'm going to start with my starting time on my number line, which right here would be 4:30. And again, I'm going to travel 22 minutes. So I'm going to hop 5 minutes, then 10 minutes, then 15 minutes, and then 20 minutes. And now, wait a minute, if I try to hop again, I actually hopped too far because I have 5, 10, 15, 20, and then this would actually be 25 minutes. We only want 22 minutes, so that is too much. So I'm going to go ahead and erase that last one because we don't want to travel quite that far on our number line. What we're going to do instead, just like when you're telling time on a clock, we would want to, sorry, I'm changing my pen here. We would want to count by fives first, but when our fives don't work anymore, then we would change to ones. So we'll do the same thing here. And when we switch over to our ones, we are going to make them be smaller hops on our number line. That actually looks larger because I changed the wrong pen size there. I'm going to go ahead and erase that just so there's no confusion because we don't want those to look any bigger. We actually want them to be smaller. As I'm changing my pen size here, so I often refer to these as I'm drawing my pictures. My 5-minute jumps are going to be called hills, and my smaller 1-minute jumps I refer to as stones. So again, if I look back at my number line, so far I have jumped 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes. Now I'm going to hop another 1 minute to be at 21, and then another 1 minute to be at 22. So if you look at my number line, you can see my hops. I've got 5, 10, 15, 20, 21, and 22. And then there would be my ending point 22 minutes later. Now, to figure out what time that would be, I would go back and look at all those points on the number line. So again, anywhere that my jumps touch the number line, that's where my times are. And I know this is going to end up getting a little bit sloppy on my screen because it's a little bit hard to write, but try to really keep your numbers right in line with the points. So again, our starting point was 4:30. Then we hopped 5 minutes, and this would be 4:35. Oh, I'm so sorry, that's hard to read. Then we hopped 5 more minutes, and that would be 4:40. And then we hopped 5 more minutes, and that would be 4:45. And then we hopped 5 more minutes, that would be 4:50. And now we're hopping 1 minute at a time. So our next point on the number line is 4:51, and our final point on the number line would be 4:52. So what time did Sally leave the park? She left the park at 4:22. Typically, I'd be asking for questions right now, but it is difficult, obviously, to ask questions at this point. If you have questions, of course, you can comment through Classroom or Google Classroom. You can text me, you can email me, you can do anything that you need to if you're having a hard time understanding these lessons. All right. I'm going to go ahead and erase that example. And we're going to look at one more type of problem like this with one more slight variation. And actually, before I do one last example, I'm going to have you put one up to let you kind of solve at your own pace, and then I'll solve it quickly to check your work. So let's say 3:30 is our start time, and let's say 19 minutes is the length of time that we're moving. So why don't you pause the video, try this problem on your own, and then I'll do a quick solution so you can see the correct solution. So again, pause it and resume the video when you're done. So you should have just finished your video, or finished your solution. And I'm going to go ahead and solve this one quickly, and you can just check what you did. So 3:30 was our start time. Then we hopped forward 5, 10, 15, 20. Oh, wait a minute. 20 would be too far, remember? So we don't want to go 20 minutes. Instead, we're going to stop at 15, and we're going to start moving now. We've got 5, 10, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 minutes. And you'll start to notice as you do these, you might not always need to label the inside of all your hills and stones. Maybe you want to label them. Some people like to label them instead of counting the 5, 10, 15, they like to label what each of those represents while counting out loud. So 5, 10, 15, but then they're writing those fives and then writing the ones in here. It's really just a matter of preference and what makes it easier for you. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this problem up. So 330, my next point on the number line is 335. Boy, some of those look so sloppy. My apologies again. My next point would be 340. My next point would be 345. Here would be 346, 347, 348. And finally, my ending time then is 349. All right, so I'm going to go ahead now on to one final type of problem like this. This is going to be slightly different, so you might want to kind of watch along with this one. So we're going to go ahead and make a start time this time of, let's do 4:45. And our event lasts for 26 minutes. Now, at first glance, that might not look any different, but let's go ahead and check out why it's different. I'm going to start exactly the same way. I'm going to start with my start time right over here, 4:45, right here on the number line. And now I'm going to jump ahead 26 minutes. That doesn't seem any different still. Let's go ahead and try it. So that's 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, and you're probably realizing now we don't want to hop another hill. Another hill would take us to 30. That's too far. So instead, we're going to go ahead and just move one little rock here for our 26th minute. So it really just seems the same so far. So let's see what's different about this one. So I'm going to go ahead and change colors here to make it a little bit easier to see between my writing. So we have our start time of 4:45. Then we have to head 5 minutes and we landed. Remember, our times are actually on the points on the number line. So that time right there, that red point there would be 4:50. The next one would be 4:55. And this is where the change comes in. Our next point, would that point be 4:60? Think about that in your own brain. Would 4:60 come next? Hopefully you said no, there is no such time as 4:60. Instead, we're going to say ding, 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 ding. And I like to always kind of mark that change there. That's going to change to the next hour. And that's going to actually become 5 o'clock right there at that star. When we hop ahead 5 more minutes, be careful on this one as well. This is actually going to be, I'm going to write this one as well so you can see it, how it looks. This one would actually be 5:05. So make sure that you don't forget that 0 in that 5:05 time. When we hop again, this would be 5:10. And then finally, we're going to hop that one little stone there. And that would take us to this final ending point at 5:11. So that's the first type of elapsed time problems. Hopefully you were successful with this set of problems. And the next video is going to focus on how we find the amount of time that passes when we're given a starting time and an ending time. So excellent job with this type of problem. You might want to take some time to practice a few problems like this. Maybe an adult at home can give you a problem. Maybe you can just go ahead and try one or two on your own and make sure you understand how to do this type before you move on to the second video. Great job.